Hi there, welcome to this week midweek market analysis. So as usual, we'll be jumping straight into the charts and highlight some of the insights as well as trading opportunities moving forward from here on. Now we'll kick things started with the dollar index. So earlier this week, we have the dollar index actually pushing up, coming in with a pretty positive dollar data. But overall, I'm actually still looking out for a short term, at least short to mid term opportunity where the dollar may continue to slide a little bit towards around the area of 105. And of course, we would not want to just sell into after a very strong push like that. So ideally, what you want to look out for is to go down to the lower time frame, perhaps on the H1, and see if you can get a cross structure developing closer towards the top of the channel. If we do, then that's definitely a sell trade setup established with, of course, if I bring it down a little bit. So if we can expect kind of like a cross structure developing over here, then of course that will be a very nice little breakout trade, stop just above that recent high. And the target for this is then back all the way down to 105, right? So overall, I'm still looking out for that. Now the only way that will probably change my bias is if you can get a break above and a consolidation above that, and of course that would tell us that the possibility of a three-wave completion is more or less done and we can look for more upside. But until that is done, we're still looking out for a sell trade. Okay, and of course we'll just be waiting for the setup to come to us. If we have that, great. So if you bring it over to some of the major pairs over here, for example, like euro dollar, pound dollar, I'm actually bullish onto that, right? In fact, even Aussie dollar is actually bullish onto that. But euro dollar here, the move, of course, is pretty impulsive. Okay, so there's a slight difference in the structure I'm looking at. In terms of like the dollar as well as the euro. So euro over here, I ideally want to see a three-wave move, right? Not so much of just a crawl here. Yes, if a crawl develop here, we may still see that upside. But for me to get involved in a buy on euro dollar, I want to see at least a decent, obvious three-wave move, right? Especially after this 1, 2, 3 here. We'll want to see a bigger corrective move, right? So for me, euro dollar is not something that is too near term. You probably need to be giving it a little bit more time, maybe a setup that might come, I would say closer, perhaps late of the week, maybe on Friday, or even bringing it towards next week. Okay, so that's on the euro. The pound over here is where I'm looking out for the opportunity to buy, right? So this is actually more of like a direct inverse perspective of the dollar, right? The dollar we're looking at sell. So GBP USD over here, if we can get again a H1 crawl, okay, that will give me a buy trade setup targeting up here around 1.2390, right? So that would then complete a very nice little three-wave move. So GBP USD, I think that's where you want to keep a close watch. We may get something maybe end of this today, or even maybe going into tomorrow, right? Thursday. We may get that setup coming to us, right? So pay attention to this. Now Aussie dollar had a pretty impulsive break above this trend line, right? So of course we're not going to be looking at the sell right now, but I think it's a little bit too early to commit to the buy. I want to still see that corrective pullback before committing to the buy trade. Okay, so that corrective pullback may develop by the end of this week or even perhaps going into next. So this may take a little bit of a while, but if you can get that, obviously that's going to build up into a buy trade opportunity. Right, then we have the dollar Canadian. So dollar Canadian is really developing in a very, very corrective manner where we get, a couple of days down, and then yesterday the market actually pushed up. Overall, I'm still bearish on this. I think as long as price is developing correctively within this channel, the high probability direction that I'm going to focus is still downside, right? The question is just more of like, are we going to see the sell trade that we can take around the top, giving us kind of a topish formation? Or is this just not going to tag that and just drop and then form a setup for us at the bottom of the channel, right? So right now I don't really have that clue yet from market, right? But basically I'm just monitoring. If you can get a setup at the top, great, I'll be looking at the sell. If not, if you can get a setup near the bottom of the channel, great, I'll also be considering the sell. Okay, so keep an eye on dollar Canadian, perhaps giving it another 2 days going into Friday. We may gain some clarity as to like, are we gonna get it at the top or near the bottom of the channel. Okay, so for this, do keep an eye on. The setup may be coming soon. Okay, but of course today I can't really pinpoint, is it gonna be the top or the bottom, right? But whatever it is, I think that's where the opportunity is gonna be. Dollar yen, stay out of it. I think again, you don't want to be involved in such a move. It's just difficult to capitalize from it, right? Especially from a psychological and kind of like a mental capacity perspective. It's just not easy, right? So my take is just stay out of dollar yen. Then we have gold. Okay, gold here. I'm just gonna be very, very patient for the pullback, especially after a strong move like this. Always expect the pullback, right? Always give it time to develop. We're definitely bullish on gold in the long term, even like I would say mid to long term. But at least wait for the pullback before committing to the buy. So this is not something that's likely gonna develop within the week. You need to give it maybe perhaps until next week. Okay. Then we have crude oil. Crude oil is a very nice little trade that I'm personally riding on. Okay, some of the traders are probably also riding onto this. Very nice. We kind of managed to get into a cross setup on a lower time frame H1 last Friday. Very nice little break, and of course we can't get an impulsive move up to today. Okay, basically this trade that we're running, we have already shift stops to protect quite a bit of a profit, right? So the trade was initially like that, where the entry was a H1 break. We're currently sitting around our trailing stop is there, right? Obviously there are still a lot of downside, right? With this target here, with this target here. We'll continue to monitor this, okay? But of course, if you're looking for sell trade opportunity, we're still bearish. Then my take is wait for at least kind of a decent pullback, in terms of a corrective setup. Then yeah, that would build in another sell trade for you, right? So crude oil here, quite clear in the direction. If you're running on this trade, great. Manage the position, right? Trail your profits accordingly. If not, then just be a little bit patient, wait for the pullback before you commit to the trade. Then we have S&P index, right? So S&P index over here, I'm expecting a pullback. So far, we are getting that, right? Correctively, that's great. So the expectation is this is pretty impulsive. If we can get a corrective pullback, we'll look for another sell trade towards 4085, right? So short term here, pullback, and then mid term we'll likely see one more drop, perhaps before the major move back to the upside, right? So S&P, I think this week likely you'll be waiting for the completion of this, and then maybe early next week is the setup to sell this. Pound yen here seems to be developing a nice little three-wave move. Okay, so as it's coming down towards this area, we'll look for the setup to initiate a buy trade, right? So that will give us an impulse correction, impulse move. So something may build in going into the end of the week, right? So the setup may be on Friday, maybe on next week. You just need to monitor, right? The key area is somewhere around 180.90 to 180.25. Okay, yeah, other than that, nothing else that's really there. Okay, so just want to highlight those that I think has a high probability, and some of the common pairs that traders look into. Good, so that's all from me for this week's video over here. All the best to your trading, and I'll see you guys in the next one.